Hey guys, welcome to this recording of our webinar on working with the project service. We wanted to really get an overview of Project for the Web and this new project service, also make a comparison, really look at it side by side with Project Online, and really how we can bring them both together with roadmap as well as using Power BI from a reporting perspective to be able to take advantage of both of these tools and services. So hope you enjoy.
So as I mentioned, this particular webinar is going to take us into some of these very unique areas around what Microsoft has been describing as Project for the Web. And if you've seen some of the other webinars and videos that we've been pushing out there, we've been talking about all of the different licensing options that you have around the tool, and we'll touch upon that a little bit here, but we'll spend most of our time getting into some of the specific areas with what's being known as what's known as the project service or project services in general. So we want the project service, but also get a high-level overview of what it is. We also want to make a comparison between project service, what's known as the project service, and project online. So where's the distinction between those two, and kind of what are you getting? And then we'll look finally at really using them both and how you can leverage both of the environments as you get things set up from a reporting perspective, from the aggregation part of it, where you're able to get this kind of high-level view of all the projects that are currently going on. So the first part of it, when we start talking about this whole notion of the project service, you'll notice the very first thing that it says Project for the Web, formerly known as project service. So they're kind of using it interchangeably. They're going back and forth. They're saying, well, we don't really want to refer to it as a project service because that's what the way we used to refer to it as. Now it's Project for the Web. But you still hear the term project service coming up over and over again, and you see it in different illustrations and things like that. So the takeaway from this is the general term is Project for the Web. And really what it encompasses, if we look at this little section here, and I'm just going to bring out my little pen, and that's really this area right here, right, where it has project, roadmap, home, project management, project client, project web app. So in this little area right here, notice that it is above this area down below that has the Azure Common Data Service for apps, right? And underneath that, you're seeing project management, and you're seeing resource management and the like. So there have been other data services, if you will, for managing projects. But what Microsoft has been doing is trying to really pull them all together, and that's why you're seeing these different names being used, and there's even a little bit of confusion. But the biggest thing that you need to be aware of is that project, as we know it, is moving into this new Power Platform. And so you notice in the second section here, it talks about Project for the Web, or simply project is built on the Microsoft Power Platform. Okay, it's built on that. And what it encompasses is really Project Home, which we'll take a look at here in a little bit. This what's called Project Roadmap, or this view, high-level view of all the different projects you have going on. If you have Azure, you're using the DevOps, you can bring in those projects into this roadmap area. So it really gives you that high-level visibility. And it's giving you, with the entry-level subscription, this very easy way for you to be able to manage projects, right? So that's the whole idea behind this new Power Platform solution, if you will, that's being provided to us. So when we think about the different tools now that we're using, the distinction that we want to make here is really between these three. Project for the Web, which is this guy out here, and then you have Project Online, which is really on the other side of it here, and then you have the Project Online Desktop. which is right here. Okay, so immediately as you look at this, you're saying, okay, well, as I examine this illustration here, I'm seeing that there is a project online, what looks to be a database, which is basically telling us that the data, the project information, is being stored in this very unique database. And what we'll learn about in an upcoming slide is that data is actually being stored in SharePoint. It's a SharePoint-based of interface, right? That we'll be working with. So that's unique to Project for the Web, where it is being stored in this CDS, this Common Data Service. So that's big, that's significant, because the way we've been managing up to this point, managing projects, leveraging Microsoft's PPM tools, it's always been here within Project Online, really leveraging SharePoint, okay, and building content databases and the like, and managing them there. Before Project Online, and when we were using Project Server, the on-premise databases that were created were in SQL Server, and that's where we would manage the data store, essentially, within SQL Server. So that is a very significant distinction. As you guys look at this, you say, well, okay, I'm going to be storing my data now in this CDS as opposed to Project Online. So this is another really good illustration or example of that. So as you can see here, we have Project for the Web, right? Let's go through each parts of these, which is right here, Project for the Web. Okay. Now, Project for the Web, as you can see here, it's saying that the data is saved to the CDS. And if you follow that thread down, go down here, here's your CDS right here. So when you are creating your new projects and saving and making updates, you are now in this Power Platform, right? And the information that you're creating and saving in the form of custom fields like project start date, project finish date, durations, and everything else are being managed as entities in this Common Data Service. Now, if you look right next to that, and here's that very distinctive line right here, if I can kind of draw a straight line there in PowerPoint, we see that we have Project Online on this side, okay, right here, Project Online. Well, with Project Online, the data that we're creating, the project information that we're creating, is being stored here, as I was mentioning, in the SharePoint Online content databases. Very different, okay, very different. The beauty of Project for the Web and leveraging this Common Data Service is that the entity management, the field management for the creation and, of course, management, execution, closure of all these projects that we're working on is far more extensive when we are able to take advantage of the Common Data Service, okay? So if you were looking at, well, what's the big compelling reason? Why am I looking at this Common Data Service? Why can't we just continue to use SharePoint Online content databases? We could, but there are some limitations, and there's been some limitations within Project Online as it relates to being able to extend the capabilities of all of the different custom fields that we're managing. So now with the CDS and being able to manage our fields in there, it becomes, certainly we have more capabilities available to us. And with the integration with other apps that the Power Platform is giving us, it opens up even more, more doors for us, right? More opportunities when we're using Project for the Web, okay? So hopefully that helps with, kind of clearing some of that part of it up, because we get a lot of questions around this. Now, if you look even further into this, just so we know where the Project Online desktop resides, is it's over here as right? It allows you to manage standalone projects, as you can see here. It says standalone, MPP files essentially, and they are connecting to Project Online, right, via the PWA site. the PWA sites. And so that's also a very important distinction, is that you are getting access to these projects that you're creating via a site and a site collection. And that's why when you think about what's the role of SharePoint, SharePoint is really providing you the site collection management of it, right? It's what's giving you what's called PWA, and we'll look at PWA in here in a minute. Okay? But we're making the connection via the project desktop through PWA into all these projects that we're managing, which is known as Project Online. Okay. Then when we look at Project for the Web, the expectation is we're managing the projects directly in the browser, right in the browser as we work with them. That's different than the Project Online desktop. So one of the things that you're not seeing here, which is very important, is that you're not seeing a Project Online desktop client connection to Project for the Web. So you're not managing your Project for the Web projects with Microsoft Project on the desktop. But you can set up your solution so that you're really using both of them. And I'll show you what I mean by that in terms of some projects could be managed with Project Professional using Project Online, and other projects could be using Project for the Web, and everything is done in the browser. And you combine the two, right? That's something that you as an organization need to come up with. So how does Project Online then work? About Project for the Web in kind of a general term, that's encompassing everything that we're looking at here. But when you think about it from just an app perspective, we're really thinking about this Project Plan 1. So as soon as you turn on Project Plan 1, you're essentially using Project for the Web, and you have access to this common data service, right, for creating and managing your projects. You get that right out of the gate. Okay? Then when you want to move on to managing projects using Microsoft Project on the desktop, you want to take advantage of all the things that that tool is giving you from a scheduling perspective. That moves you into Project Plan 3. So Project Plan 3 is allowing you to then download the Project Professional desktop application onto your system so that you can start to create and manage a project, but it also gives you the ability to provision a PWA instance, a Project Online instance, so that you can start managing your projects there. And so let's go back just to these slides just for a moment. This slide for a moment, that with P3 is giving you the Project Online desktop application, and it's also giving you the ability to create a project web app site to start managing your project. So that means that you're going to be able to just simply create that site collection that we're talking about. So P1 is giving you this Project for the Web license and subscription so that you can start building your projects, but via the browser. Okay. Now P5 is just giving you additional functionality that P3 does not give you. It gives you some additional portfolio and resource management, additional capabilities. Think about it that way. All right, so how do we then pull these together? So, part of this webinar was how do we, use these in conjunction with each other, right, for the kind of the best of both worlds, using them together. Now, one of the things that we get is Project Home, and we're really going to start with that. So Project Home was created under 365, under Microsoft 365, as being that centralized hub for all of your projects, for your projects, for the web projects, and for your Project Online projects from a centralized location. Project Roadmap is giving you more of a timeline type of view for seeing all of the projects that you are really concerned with from a roadmap perspective, right? This is something that perhaps the high-level portfolio managers, those are at the executive level, they want to be able to say, here are our most critical projects that we want to drop onto this roadmap that they can then just view. And the roadmap can come from different sources that they pull up to the top. So it just makes it very useful for them to view that. The more important part of that, though, is what we get out of Power BI. So Power BI, from a reporting perspective, from a dashboard management, creation and management perspective is where we can tie both the project for the web projects and our project online projects together, right? And use them and look at them really side by side from a reporting perspective. So we'll look at those as well. 365, and we have our new subscription, right? So let's say we have P1 has been turned on and it's been associated to our account. What will happen is immediately when we log in, we're going to see a new icon, this one called project here, and we'll click on that guy. And so this is the new project home. And notice the URL, project.microsoft.com. So when you start to create projects, that when you come in, there's this little drop down here, and I'm getting all this mail, sorry about that. And I click on this drop down. Notice that one of the options is new roadmap. And then if I wanted to create a new project, I would create a new blank project. And again, we have some videos on project for the web, so I won't go into too much detail there. I'm going to spend more time on the service. But what this is telling us is that this is where the projects would be managed, right, out of here. And notice that there's a link here to go to Project Online. What also happened simultaneously is we basically got a new project service app. Think of it that way. And it's available to us here within Power Apps. Now, the way we get to Power Apps, if I go back to my regular home screen, is notice that there's a Power Apps link here. But right next to Project is Power Apps. When I launch Power Apps, I'll go ahead and just do it from here so you guys can see that. It gets me into this centralized area, and it's saying, okay, what would you like to do? Are you going to use an app? Are you going to build an app? Are you going to upload a solution? Right? What's on your mind? So if we go into apps, we'll see the apps that I currently have here. I have a couple that I'm playing with, this project intake, there's this site tracking. The first thing that you'll notice is that there are very specific types. These are canvas types. These guys are model driven. And so when you essentially turned on this subscription, it's giving you the ability to leverage the Power Platform via the Power Apps to start connecting to and working with these exact same projects. The projects out here that we find and are managing through the project home, we're able to create and manage them through a app, right, which is called Project, where we can start to manage those various projects. So if I click on Project in here, it's taking me into the Power Apps Project app, and you can see that there are a number of different projects as you just kind of scroll through here. And let's look at these. This one's called Demo, Demo 2, Project for Web, a lot of demos here, Demo Project, another one with a dash in it, right? So a lot of demo projects. If I go back to here and you start looking at these different projects, and let me do show more, and we'll kind of scroll down here. We'll start to see, let me do created by me because it'll show me all the different projects. We'll start to see a lot of those same projects. So there's demo project, go ahead and scroll down, there's demo project 1. So we have PWA project, and then we have just regular project. So project is project for the web. PWA project are ones that are being managed in Project Online, and they're both here. Let me go back to created by me so we can just go into one of these projects. Okay. So let's look at this demo project. I'll go ahead and click on it. So when we click on the demo project, it's showing us all the lists of the actual tasks. This is the project. This is it. This is what Project for the Web is giving us. So when we look at this and they say, yeah, it's giving you scheduling capabilities, assignment capabilities, right? This is a project management browser-based, cloud-based tool. This is it. It gives you a grid, gives you a board, gives you a timeline. And so now if I go back to Power Apps and we look at Demo Project, we click on it, notice that here within the Power Apps environment, as I'm looking at this demo project, I'm seeing a whole lot of other information that I happen to be tracking around this particular project. The summary, the business unit it belongs to, right? There's some stage information. Notice if I click on the drop down, priority information. So really the metadata around the project that we're managing out of here. Pretty cool, right? So once we have the schedule, which is being managed in project for the web from a app perspective, right? And then we have Power Apps that is giving us all of the management from a metadata perspective, from a field perspective here within Power Apps. And notice that there's business case, financials, right? So this is just field information that we're able to track that we can extend, So we can create as many or manage as little of this information as necessary, really. Resource information, tasks, right? And notice that when I click on tasks, what happens? It is showing me the project info that we were just looking at over here in demo project. So it is the same, right? It also has a risks and issues area, a change management area, status information that we can manage from here. Okay, so I didn't do anything with this, so I'm just going to get out of it, because what I want to show you is I want to go back to the actual Power Apps area, get to it from here. So here's this guy right here. Okay, so I'm going to go right over it, roll right on top of it, and do an edit. Okay, so now what I'm doing while I'm in the Power Apps area is I'm really in the design area of the tool, okay, from here. So you'll notice that right off the bat in this components area, it has these different, right, what they're calling artifacts. And so notice that I can click on them, and when I click on them, as I make that selection, it is showing me all of the entities that are available to me. So when I talked about this being far more extendable, this is really what we're talking about, right? This is really what we're looking at here. So these are all of the different entities that we can manage within this new project service. Very powerful, okay? And not all of them are even being used in this particular case. So notice the ones that have check marks, basically saying, yeah, these are the ones that we're actually using. We'll start to see some of the project info, organizational units, priorities. There's project right there. And you can see what it's the field name, MSDYN_project. Parameter information, request information. These are all of the entities that you can manage. You want a new entity? Boom, you can create one right from there. Okay. Now, from just the perspective of kind of layout and how you interact with the app, they're all essentially just being managed in here. So if I go into, like, for example, this sitemap, this is actually what's showing me the layout of the app itself. So when we go back into the app to take a look at it, you'll notice that there's a projects area, there's this dynamics overview, which was just added in there, and then resources, accounts, and then contact. So this is how we essentially create that interface for the app itself. It all gets managed in here. So when I'm done with that, I'll close that out. Okay. All right. So the other part to this, as we look at the role of Power Apps, is that you can do quite a bit with, extending it, again, extending the app's capabilities. And here's an example of that. And we'll go into, for example, this. So the idea behind this particular app is that it is going to manage all of the requests that are coming in, and only upon review do they actually get promoted into a project. Okay, so from here, when I'm in the project request, when I set out to create a new one, it's going to be looking for me to fill out certain information. So this is the beauty of using something like Power Automate, where you're able to notify the appropriate people about a new project that's in the pipeline that needs to be potentially reviewed, needs to be approved, it needs to be rejected. Something has to happen. But all that is going on here. So let's do another demo. We'll call this project service. and we'll set a type, right? These are all the entities. So if we needed more information to be gathered up here when the request is being made, it's very easy to do that by just simply going back into that entities area and adding it. And so to notice that there's a lot of prioritization type of information that's being tracked, even some of the financials like estimated costs, things like this. And these are all just, fields that we're creating and managing. Funding available, again, completely editable by you. Requested by, executive sponsorships that we can look up, all kinds of very cool fields that we can manage. So I just created a new request, right? So a new request, emails would go out, notifications would get triggered, right? Knowing that, hey, we've got to come in and take a look at this particular request that's going on. Once it gets approved, I'll go ahead and click on that. And I think we've got some workflow on this that if we take it from new to approved, right, it automatically will just drop it down into projects, for example, and then we have a new project down here. The other thing that we can manage out of here is notice that there's a program section. So all of our programs could be managed in here, where if you click on a particular program, it's a whole other set of data that we're managing, right? So this is financials and status and notes and things like that related to a program, and of course it's going to manage all of the potential programs that are associated, projects rather, that are associated to this program. So as soon as I go back into projects, it say, hey, this project is part of this program. It's going to show up here, and it's going to bring all of its details with it. Okay, pretty cool. Go back to general there. Okay, so let's go into projects, and there's my notice that because we approved that request, notice that the new demo project service is now here in my project. So by just clicking on that drop down, it moved it over into projects. And I'll click on the demo project service. Okay, and it shows all the information in there. Now I'll go ahead and click on the program option. I'll go ahead and choose AAA program. Now this project is rolling up into that program. All right, so all of this is quite different than the way we've worked with Project Online, which I'm going to show you what that looks like and really the difference between them. Okay, and I'll save and close that. Now, what is also here, of course, is the ability to manage that particular project schedule. So remember, I just simply created a request, then it was approved, it fell into the projects area. I've now associated it to a program, but now I want to start building out part of the schedule, right? Well, that's where the tasks come into play. So I can click in tasks, and I can also go and open it, always allow, and it drops me right into this demo project area, and I can start building out my tasks, right? Okay, assign it to myself, set a duration here, okay, and just continue to work on the schedule. And if you haven't seen some of the things that we've been doing with Project for the Web, there's a lot of value here, and in the Teams and the Project for Web integration, we learned about how we can drop this right into Teams. The project can be created in Project, right, within the Power Apps, right? It's requested there. You see the workflow behind it where we go from, requested to approved and how it shows up as a project. And then we can see here how that project can then be integrated directly into Teams to allow your team to start working on it straight away, right? So pretty cool stuff. Now, let's go take a look from here as, where does Project Online come into play, right? How is that now playing a role with everything that we've been looking at? So if I go back to, right, I'm just dropping right back into Power Apps, into my demo project service that we were just looking at, okay, and I'll save and close to just simply get out of that area. And then what I want to do is go back to Project Home. Let's go back to Project Home. Okay. Which brings us back here. Okay. So now I'm in the Project Home area. When I scroll down, I have Project Online. So I would only have this Project Online if I had the P3 or the P5 subscription. Okay, keep that in mind. But when you set up when you get set up with a P3 or P5 license, a Project Web App will then be provisioned for you, right? A 365 administrator will create the PWA instance. So as you look at this, notice the URL, right? SharePoint.com sites PPM Quick Start. That's different, very different than what we saw here within Power Apps. Okay, so here's my Power Apps project management, and here is my Project Online project management. Okay, very distinctive, very different. So now I'm going to go to Projects, which is the Project Center, and it's listing all those projects for me. Okay, again, very, very different here. Okay, but we're looking at, in a lot of ways, some of the same information. So let's go to one of these projects. I'll click on this Build Out Central. And I'm going to go to the Quick Start PEP here, which is just a detail page. And as you look at it, you're seeing the title and some dates and some project status and project size. You're saying, well, that looks a lot like, let me go back into one of these demo projects, a lot like the same information that you're capturing here. And really it is. It is. It's just really being managed in a different location. This information right here is being managed in the SharePoint data store. Okay, so let's go back to that slide just for clarification. Let's go back to this one. This is an important one. Okay, so looking at the PWA site, right, that we were just working with, the SharePoint.com site, that's over here in this content DB, right in here, this content database. Okay, so site collections are created to manage the location of the project. So as you create your projects, you publish them, you check them in, you check them out, all those good things, they are being stored here at this particular location. Okay, so hopefully that helps with understanding that. That's an important distinction there. Now, where does Project Professional come into play? Well, let's go back to the schedule area. So much like Project for the Web gave us the ability to manage schedules in the browser, so does the Project Web App. In fact, as you look at this and we expand our little ribbon here, you might be looking at these tasks and saying, this kind of looks like what you were doing in the tasks area when you were just in Project. In fact, they look very similar. Let me go back to this one. Don't want to jump around too much, but we'll go ahead and look at them here. And you're saying, well, let me go to my timeline. And it's because of where we are in the date. What are the dates on these here? I said, yeah, well, look, I see a timeline. I see some dependencies here. If I go back into that, yeah, same thing. I see a timeline. I see some dependencies here, right? What's the difference? Well, this is using, within the Project Web App, using SharePoint web parts, using SharePoint controls, right? It also gives you the ability to manage these projects using Microsoft Project Professional, right? Using Microsoft Project Pro. So as I log in here to Project Professional, I'm able to take advantage of the desktop application. So the desktop application is going to allow me to go and open up those projects that are stored out in Project Online, right, and PWA. So notice you're seeing that same project, Build Out Central, the one that we're looking at over here. I'm able to open these up in Project Professional. We cannot say the same thing for the projects that we're managing here within Power Apps. So this open in project is opening it up in project for the web, not in project professional. Okay, not in project professional, which is this guy here, right? Our desktop client. So as you think about this, and you're maybe coming up with some strategies and saying, okay, well, let's see how we can use this. Just think about kind of your user base, right, and their level of proficiency with certain tools. Do they need to use Project Professional? Do they already have projects in Project Pro that they need to bring in to Project for the Web, Project Online, right? So that would be an important discussion to have and discovery around how what do your users look like. Now, if we go back to the reporting part of it, so how do we tie this all together, right? When we start thinking about what we can see and do with it. Well, let's first go back to just simply the main project area, and let's talk about where this roadmap really comes into play, right? And how roadmap is going to plays a role in kind of our overall visibility into where these projects are happening. Well, what I did is I created this PS deep dive roadmap earlier, and just several hours ago. Well, the way this roadmap was created was just simply from home. I came to this drop down and I just said new roadmap. Okay, that's really as simple as it gets. Now, remember, the roadmap is going to give us the ability to pool projects into it, ones that we're most concerned with. So we could have projects that are in PWA, we could have projects that are in Project for the Web, and we can even have these Azure projects that we want to bring into roadmap. So when we create the new roadmap, it just simply brings us in here. Okay, and we can rename the roadmap. You click on the little link there, and this is fully editable. Right, tab out of it, and it's saved, and it's going to save it. Okay. When we are looking to then add a line item, and notice that they're just simply called rows here, and I'll click on untitled row because I didn't connect to anything just yet. If I was going to create a new one, there's my add row there. Okay, but I'm just working off that existing row that I just kind of put as a placeholder there. Okay. Now below that is the owner, right, of the line item, whatever you're bringing in, and here it is, connect to a project. When I go to connect to a project, it's giving me two options, right, our Azure boards and project. So when I click on project there, now it's showing me all of the available projects. Pretty cool, right, both our project for the web projects and our projects that we're creating with PWA, right? That's the distinction you can make. PWA, which is Project Online, and Project for the Web, which is your P1 subscription, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and drop that demo project in there, right? Connect to that particular project, and it's making it's looking for it, and it's saying, okay, get updates to roadmap, sign in. It's showing that, hey, I've got the rights to both the common data service, which it needs, and permissions from a roadmap perspective. If I didn't, I'd have to log in, make that connection. Right? It'll let me know if I can't connect. Okay. Now, once I get into it, it's saying, okay, there's your demo project. What are you going to be adding? And this is where it's very important that as you build out these project schedules, that you will have certain tasks that you want to pull up. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to flag your deliverables, right, through your schedules to have them live in the roadmap, right? So in this case, really the big thing that I care about is the submitting of the proposal, right? Maybe that's one of my deliverables that I have out there, and this is where it lives. So I'm going to put myself as the owner here. Okay, we're calling this demo project. And notice that I can continue to add particular items in here. So that's my distinguishing item. And notice when I roll over, it even shows me the one that I care about, right? And I can just hit the X to get out of that. Okay, pretty neat, right? So I want to add another row. Okay, I'll go ahead and set myself up as the owner again, connect to a project, go back to project. But this time what I'm going to do is I look through the list of projects that I have, which is the one that I wanted to do. Oh, there's my core upgrades. So this is a different project, but this guy's coming from, right, the project online. So notice it looks a little bit different. Okay, so it's saying, are you authenticated to get to project online? You better be, because otherwise I can't connect to it and allow me to connect to that one. So that guy was built with a P3 or a P5 license. Okay, but again, it's allowing me to pull them up into a particular area. Now this is a little bit different where it's not showing me the items, it's just wanting me to look for a particular task with a name. Okay, I don't even know what's in here. Let's start typing. Okay, so these are all of the tasks, guys, that are in that particular project. So again, this would be some type of deliverable, substantial completion date. Let's go ahead and mark it on that one. 413 is a little bit old, but I'll go ahead and add that guy on there. Okay, you're not going to see it show up because it's way back, but you get the idea, right? And adding it in here. So roadmap, very nice for allowing us to take both of those projects and pull them into it, right? So this is a very dynamic screen. This is something that an executive, somebody at that leadership level would come in to just basically work with it. Now, from a business intelligence perspective, from a reporting perspective, what Microsoft is also giving us is what they call a content pack. And so this free to download content pack from Microsoft is giving us these existing reports and templates that we just simply need to connect to. So when you go out and pull this down, and if you're interested in this location, in fact, if you just search for project for the web content pack, it'll be one of the first listings that shows up. So you'll download it, and when you run it as a Power BI template, it will ask you for your organizational details and the PWA site that you want to report on, okay? Once it has that information, because it recognizes your fields, right? It recognizes what you're trying to display, all the connections are there, okay? So it immediately shows me the number of projects that are going on. You can see those projects down below here. It's kind of hard to see them too well. Let me go ahead and expand this guy out and hide some of these guys here, okay? And you can see what that's pulling forward. Things like the progress, whether it's on track, ownership, all of that is being displayed in here. We have a portfolio dashboard. There's even a timeline that they give us. Some reporting on milestones, right, with these KPIs, all completely editable, right? Once we have good knowledge of Power BI, or we have somebody on your team that's able to build this, all these are great starting points. You even have some resource reports in here, or resource dashboards. Shows you the total number of resources. Remember, these are completely dynamic. So I can select a particular resource. Those are all the ones that I'm working on. Okay, pretty cool. There's an assignments report. Okay, again, I could select particular resources or project, effort hours by project. That Build Out Central seems to be a big one. So I click on it, it shows me all the resources that are currently in that project and what their progress is. Okay. Then I can see my total number of effort hours. That should be the same thing, and it shows me more information about me specifically. Okay, choose one of those other ones. Okay. Keep going across here. You have some tasks, task reports. Okay, task by status. Looks like we've got some overdue ones there. Not surprised. Okay, project timeline. Then some other ones here, my work.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you got some good takeaways about the project service, how it compares to project online, and how you can really use these two apps and services, kind of combining them for your specific need, your specific requirements. In any case, good luck, guys, and take care. Chat with you soon.